right, business athletes, what is going on? We are back at you with yet another episode. This one is slightly different because this one is the first time I'm interviewing someone on the podcast. And I thought to myself, who would be someone that I really want to open the interviews, the dialogues with that go beyond just the monologues, right? And I thought to myself, no, I couldn't think of anyone better than my guy, Todd Price. So Todd Price he's a husband, he's a father. He has built and scaled a nine-figure business that he exited in a matter of years. He is in great shape. He's done bodybuilding. He's done MMA. He is, he's an outlier. He truly is someone who I consider a business athlete. He's a leader and he understands the value of health. Todd and I connected a couple of years ago and he was already in great shape. But guys like Todd, they're not just content with being good. They want to go from good to great, and then they want to go from being great to a category of one. And he reached out to me, and we got involved, and I helped him with some of his health consultation stuff. And our relationship grew from there to the point where I'm in his business mastermind as well. Because like I always talk about, guys, you've got to get in the right rooms. And what better way to be in a room with a guy that's built a business from scratch to sell at nine figures, and he's about my age, in his early 40s, late 30s. So all this to say, this is going to be an action-packed episode. We're going to cover everything from what it takes to be a business athlete, the challenges in life, his past, addiction. We're going to talk about business building. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about a lot of the things that are probably missing in the world today that Todd feels like men in particular need to figure out and need to address. So Todd, brother, thank you for coming on the show, the first episode. And look, man, give us a little bit of a background introduction on, who is Todd Price? So like maybe start back just, a little bit of your upbringing so we can kind of frame the whole conversation around where you came from.
I'm from this little small town called Lilburn, Georgia, which is in Gwinnett County, and born and raised there. Live an hour from there now. I've been in this area my whole life. My dad grew up in the area, so was around the area my whole life, and was the only child. Had a great upbringing, phenomenal parents. Lived with them longer than I should have due to other issues that we'll get into in the future. But the and now they actually live with me, and then I just built them a house on my property as well. But yeah, couldn't have asked for a better upbringing, man. And then after my upbringing, obviously they weren't loaded, but they gave me everything that my dad worked his ass off trying to, provide for me, and worked out in the sun. I think that's where I got a lot of my work ethic from. He built houses. And so he was up early, gone out building houses till, whatever time, getting home late, and then making sure my mom had gas in the car and washing the cars and mowing the lawn. And he was just a nonstop, and he worked out too, so he was just a nonstop, kind of protector and go-getter. And so he always made sure I had everything that I needed. We weren't rich by any means, but it was a great upbringing. And then after that, and I went out on my own, is kind of when I detoured, so to speak. So
Man, I love that. And I'm thinking about your upbringing and where you came from and what you've achieved to this point now. Were you always this driven and ambitious? I think people often wonder when they see someone who's very successful, and especially if they're checking off boxes in multiple areas. They're in shape, they've done really well financially, they've got a good family. They almost make an assumption that that guy just came out of the womb like that. Were you always that dialed in, or is this something that, I mean, where did you begin? Did you have to learn these things when you were a teenager? Were you very driven and put together, or did you go through a period, man, where you sort of like hit a rock bottom and struggled and you had to like rebuild yourself to who you are now?
I started really, I would say the long answer to that is, well, the short answer to that is no. I was not always that driven. The more in-depth answer would be, I started working out in high school because well, even before that, because my dad was working out, but I really started working out every day in high school just because I saw, the bigger guys, the bigger athletes. I wasn't naturally a big guy. And so I wanted to be like that. I was watching the bodybuilders. I really wanted that. And there was definitely a time where I doubted myself, and then even after high school, where I had gotten into the workforce and was competing against different people in the workforce, and that's kind of when I took a turn for the worse. But at the same time, like I didn't really, with exception of my parents, I didn't really ever have anybody that believed in me, whether it was from the bodybuilding fitness standpoint, fighting standpoint, business standpoint, whatever it may have been. And I think the whole time I needed to believe in myself even more than that belief from others. But it kind of took that belief from others for me to realize, like, shit, dude, you can do whatever you want. And
Yeah.
so I started with I was when I was in the gym industry, and finally when I got sober, I had worked my way up to a regional manager and was kind of all over from gym to gym, and had different gyms recruiting me. And I ended up finally working for a smaller chain gym. I had 7 locations here in Georgia, 7 in North Carolina, and then the Omni in Alabama. And that's actually where I met Alyssa at. But
No.
the it was a smaller chain, and so the guy that I worked for that owned the chain of gyms, he was actually a multi millionaire, but it wasn't from the gym industry. It was from CRMs. He actually owned a CRM called National Fitness that is in a lot of gyms nationwide, that keeps track of all the members and their check-in and their payments and all that kind of stuff. And so I guess he thought I might as well own some gyms as well. And so with that, every other week he would fly in. He lived in Utah. He would fly in from Monday to Thursday. And me being the regional guy, I was right under him. So I got to
Mm.
work alongside him every other week and really watch how he negotiated contracts, business deals, employees, deals at new locations that he was going to open up, whatever it may have been. And it taught me a lot, but two, having somebody of that value, that stature, he would kind of pour into me all the time and just tell me how much he believed in me and how capable I was of certain things. So he was like the first one beside my parents that, and I guess I kind of looked at my parents as like, well, they're just supposed to believe in me type. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
didn't,
Yeah.
kind of took it for granted. Um, and but with him, he like really pushed me to get more out of life. And so that's when I realized, like, okay, I'm the best at what I do here in the gym industry, as far as bringing up these gyms, doing sales, focusing on these trainers, making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And so that's what kind of led me out into the entrepreneurship world. And then from there, it just all these small wins stacked up, and it continued to build my confidence to the point where I'm like, if I'm whatever I want to do, I know I can do it. Like if I put my mind to something, I can do it.
Dude, I love that. And what would you say were the outlying facts? So like what stood out about this guy? So this guy that was sort of like a mentor to you. First of all, what did he do notably to you that kind of stood out in terms of the way he behaved, the way he operated? And do you feel like that mentorship, that connection, do you feel like that sort of helped shape the way that you mentor people now and the way that you sort of can eye someone and recognize the potential in someone? And like, do you have that energy that he had? Are you giving that to other people today as well?
Yeah, I would definitely say that I'm giving that same kind of belief
Yeah.
in people, but he was also super hard on me too. Like, and I mean, he was just blunt. Like he was, you know. So I think that's part of it. There was no um, you know, let me tell you a story about this or that. It was just blunt. Like here's the facts type of deal. And you know, I respected that about. And he was also much older. He wasn't somebody our age. He was probably in his 60s. You know, so and he had millions, and you know, I maybe had couple $100 in my account. You know what I mean? Like so.
Yeah.
I'm just scraping by, and I've got this super successful guy telling me how good I am at certain things. Like that meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest thing. But he was also very quick to correct me in certain areas or when I had
Mhm.
problems.
Yeah.
Uh, and what's funny is like the way that I got promoted was when I went to that chain of gyms. I he kept putting he was putting people in front of me as a regional manager, and he there was somebody as a regional manager. I knew I deserved the spot, and I still had a super bad attitude, like I was pissed off at the world, and didn't have kids yet, didn't know Alyssa yet, didn't have really anything to live for. I was just trying to make money and get by, and but I knew I wanted to do better and move up, and somebody quit or got fired, and he put another regional manager in place. And finally, after like the third or fourth one that was in place instead of me, and a lot of them were like trainers, and like he would promote a trainer, and I'm like, that's great. Like the trainer you promoted is extremely knowledgeable. But from a regional standpoint, we need to look at numbers and revenue and sales and on top of the not, you know what I mean? And that's what I
Yeah.
excelled at. So I got to where, and this is kind of a funny story, but I got to where I had a really bad attitude, and I would outsell everybody just to prove a point, like just dominate everybody to prove a point. And
Yeah.
every time I would sell a deal, when I walked around to go put it into the computer, there's obviously cameras in the gym. I would flick off the cameras. I'd hold up the deal in one hand and flick off the camera in the other hand. And I was just so pissed at the world. And so he comes in one day and sits me down and tells me he's got to let me go. And I said, all right, why? And he said, because you have such a terrible attitude. And I told him, I said, well, how would you feel? You know, essentially, like, I'm getting looked over. This is happening. This is happening. And he asked me, well, what would you do different? And I just went into pitching and told him what I would do and started selling and told him things that legit needed to be changed. And he would always, every time he would think, he would always lean back in his chair and he'd put his arms behind his head and just kind of look up and zone out for a minute. And he zoned out for a couple minutes and he said, all right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I want you to take 2 weeks off. I'm going to pay you for the 2 weeks. I want you to take 2 weeks off. And then I want you to come back as the VP. So he
Wow.
went from firing me to a
Yeah.
promotion with 2 weeks paid vacation.
I
But
was,
I still talk to him every now and then. I'll go by the gym just to say hey if I'm in the area, like and check and see if he's there. But super great guy, and definitely owe him a lot of the respect and you know.
I was going to say, so one of the things that I noticed about you is you are direct, and I don't think you're blunt per se, but you're direct. So I can see that those characteristics, either you already had them or they kind of like you recognize that that was like a leadership skill that you wanted to cultivate. But I also feel like it's one of those things where your ability to create a good attitude and like to sort of be self-motivated is so obvious to me. What do you think in terms of you talk about attitude, right? What do you think are some of the biggest things that hold people back with their attitude when it comes to life, making money, being a business athlete, trying to have it the best life they can? What do you see? Well, like the common variables of someone that you know will be successful versus someone that you know is just going to suck and they just kind of wheel spin and flip flop. Can you see something in their attitude and the way they show up?
Yeah, I think a few different things. I think one, if it was somebody to come work for me, I would say, and I tell a lot of my clients this too, like if somebody's willing to put in the effort, like granted at some point, like they might not, it might not be for them. And you just have to do what's best for them and say, hey, this isn't your cup of tea, but at the end of the day, if somebody's willing to put in the effort and try, I'll pour everything I have into them to see what I can do to help them because I can teach you fitness, I can teach you sales, I can teach you, what roofing, whatever the trade may be, whatever the skill set, I can teach you a skill set. I can't teach you hustle and drive. So
Yeah.
if you're not willing to meet me on that journey and pour the energy or time or things like that into it, then I'll just immediately let you go because it's not worth. You're wasting your time and my time.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing too is people that are self-aware, I think is very important to notice, and people that know, like I'm 100%, I know where my strong points are, I know where my weak points are. And I'm confident in
Mhm.
the fact and have no problem saying, hey, you know what? That's not my cup of tea, or I'm not as fluent as Fraser in that situation. I would talk to Fraser on that. Or
Yeah.
QuickBooks isn't my thing. I would get with a bookkeeper. I know how to move the chess pieces around the board, but I don't know QuickBooks. I always had somebody do it for me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yep.
I know where my strong, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people, I feel like they have to at least act like they know everything from,
Yeah.
and I think that's what gets you in trouble. And I think, one of the other big things that I see nowadays too, especially with social media, is there's so many people criticize others and want to talk down on others and what they're doing wrong, but they haven't built anything yet, or they're not looking at what they're doing wrong, and that's what, like some of
Yep.
these groups that I'm in, and I see these different um, quote unquote big wigs in different industries. And somebody will come in and ask a question and they'll blatantly say, like, hey, I'm new to fitness, or I'm new to roofing, or I'm new to this, or I'm new to that, or I just started a company and want advice. And people like these guys that act like they're big will just bash them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, one, you don't know it all, and two, we started in the same, like we were all there at one point. So if they're really trying to come in and learn, let's help them. Like that's the next wave of the future of this industry or of fitness or whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
I think there's way too many egotistical people out there that don't want to help. And then I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know it all, that act like they know it all, or might be scared to even ask questions because of the
Yeah.
fact that you have people kind of bashing them or coming down on them.
Yeah.
So I think those are some of the biggest problems that I see, and I think, and
Yeah.
the other thing I think is that I see way too many people going into things, whether it be fitness, whether it be business, whatever it may be, expecting to see huge leaps, huge gains, huge success. Not that you can't get there, but they're not appreciating the small wins. And all those small
Yep.
wins stack up over time. And one, those are, it's step by step is what gets you where you want to be, but also those small wins are what help build confidence. And
Yeah.
a lot of people miss out on that, and they quit, or they call it quits. And I tell everybody, like, you're gonna fail if you're in the gym trying to hit a PR, or you're trying to do a certain exercise, or you're starting a bit. You're gonna fail. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna fail on something, but you either have to keep pushing and figure out what caused that failure, or you just quit doing it and then you go back to whatever you were doing before, and you're not going to make it. But it's the ones
Yeah.
that keep pushing and don't give up that I
Yeah.
think really turn into something.
Man, I love that. And what I wanted to touch on was I was thinking to myself, you obviously have a track record. You're talking about building something, you're talking about starting out. You just mentioned how you started in the fitness space, but you're not even necessarily known for that at this point now. Walk us
Mm.
through, because I want the audience to kind of understand your social proof. Like, what have you built? And then, I really want to kind of revisit um how you met Alyssa early on, and how she sort of supported you in those early days when you, like, quote unquote, had nothing, like, which I think is amazing. But walk us through, like, the roofing game, because, like, obviously you're in fitness at one point, and then at some point you were like, okay, I'm going to do something else, and you obviously had to have, like, conviction and take a leap of faith. You started out as a beginner, literally what you were saying around, like, just starting out and having belief. What did you build? What did you create? Like, and what were the numbers that you can divulge? Like, give us some numbers and some sort of, like, experience that you had that kind of would inspire someone today hearing your story.
So, in the in I did start out in the fitness industry when I was 17, straight out of high school. When I graduated, I went straight to LA Fitness, got a job, started selling memberships, and then I was like, hang on, this isn't what I want to do. I want to be over there with the trainers. Like, I want to go sell training and help them out. So switched over to that, was in that forever. And then, as you probably know, a lot of people look at gyms or gym goers or fitness people and think like, oh, these are nothing but just healthy people that work at gyms. And I'm like, actually, no, there's a lot of party animals and a lot of like
Yeah.
substance abuse and things like similar to like car sales. And so that's what kind of got me down the wrong path and hanging out with people. Everybody was older than me. They were all like in their early 20s, and so I was hanging out with them, and that's what kind of got me thrown off. And then when I got sober and came back and kind of straightened my life out, I met Alyssa. I was in the gym industry and still, and the hours were just crazy. Like, I mean, you know what it's like in the gym industry. Most people are coming 5 a.m. to whatever, 8, 9, and then you might have a break in the middle of the day, and that's when I would get my workout in and eat some more food, whatever. And then it picks back up 3, 4 into 8 in the evening. And so I was at the gym all day, but I was trying to start, a relationship with Alyssa. And I was like, man, I really need to figure out something else. And at that same time, I had this guy that was he was a part-time personal trainer at one of my locations that I ran, and but he had been telling me for like 2 years, Todd, you need to get into roofing, like this roofing game, and was tried telling me about it, and insurance paid for the roof, and you know this is what you do, and then you put a yard sign out. Like, he made it sound so simple, and it is pretty simple, but he made it sound so simple that I just didn't believe. I was like, man, like, I don't, it's too much. It's too easy. It's too good to be true type deal.
Yeah.
And so 2 years went by, and finally he started sending me pictures of his checks. And it was like, 1,000 one week, then 3,000, then 5,000. It just kept going up. And I remember one week it was 28,000. And I was like, okay. And by this time, now me and Alyssa I think we already got married at this point. And I'm like, okay, I got to figure something out. I'm like, this dude, his name was Chad. I was like, he's been talking to me about this forever. And now I said, I'm quitting the gym industry. I'm cold turkey going into this and gonna make it happen. And
Yeah.
I had no idea about any. I knew construction. I could build anything out of wood because my dad, I've been around it my whole life. But he didn't do roofing. I didn't know roofing, and I didn't know the insurance process. I didn't know how to read the insurance paperwork. I didn't know any of that. And but I had another guy that ran one of my locations that had left the gym industry to go into roofing. So he had gone up to Tennessee and was running an office up there. So he knew more about it. So I was like, well, let's partner. We'll just open in Georgia and Tennessee right off the bat. So that's what we did. We ended up growing that company. We were in 7 states, and this was where part of my ego kind of, I didn't know any better too, and some other people still do this, but um, we were in 7 states, but we had like 2 or 3 people in each state. Like, so we couldn't serve the full area. We couldn't serve our customers to the best of our ability. Um, so finally we honed back in. I was like, let's pull everybody back into Georgia, just focus on one, like Georgia and Mississippi or Georgia and Tennessee, and grow from there outwards. And our numbers skyrocketed. And then did that for 3, 4 years. We were doing great. I finally had some time to take my first vacation, and me and Alyssa went somewhere. And then on the way back, I'm getting phone calls like about money missing from their checks, about different stuff. And I'm like, hold on, like that's doesn't make sense. Like, I'm literally on the way back right now. I'll look at it on Monday. I'll get it fixed. Well, my former partner had thought that it was a good idea to go into these jobs, and this is before we had CRMs or anything. And so he was going in every folder and changing the price of labor and changing the price of materials on jobs that we had already done too. Like, I understand prices go up on future jobs, but not on past jobs that we've already done. So he was trying to profit more money for us. And I had to tell him, like, hey, I'm all about us making as much money as possible. Like, that's at that point, that's all I was after was money. I didn't understand the changing people's lives. I didn't understand the family aspect.
Yeah.
I didn't understand all the other stuff that came along with it. But I also told him, like, but with that being said, I'm not going to, I'm not about screwing somebody else over to make me more money. Like, we're all in this together. We're a team. We all eat together, period. And so I fixed that. And then literally the next day, a detective showed up and was there for workers' comp fraud. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on?
Yeah.
So before I had left, we had a bill for workers' comp. We didn't know about workers' comp. And all of our subcontractors were giving us certificates of insurance, but we didn't think to double check them. We weren't doing it on a weekly basis. I didn't know everything that I do now. One of our roofers' insurance had lapsed for like a month and a half, 2 months. And at that time, I think it was 112% fine. So whatever you paid him in that time that it lapsed, there was a fine of 112% on top of what you paid him that you'd have to pay to workers' comp. And well, then they started investigating us more, and they looked into, well, all your sales guys are getting on roofs. So they're all roofers too. They're not salespeople. So, and none of them had workers' comp. So I'd end up getting a thing in the mail saying we owed like $745 or $765,000. And I thought it was like a scam. I thought it was some bullshit. I didn't know what it was. And it turned out being legit. And before I'd gone on vacation, we had attorneys. We got it down to $60,000. And I was like, cool, pay it, move on, done. Well, while I was on vacation, he decided to tell workers' comp he never signed that the office manager signed that, which is true. But we said, hey, find us the best workers' comp, sign it, get it, run it, let's go. And so she did sign it, but she also signed all the checks every week, did payroll every week. She had our signature down pat. She knew how to do it. So it was slightly different signature than ours, but we had given her direction to do that. And so I wasn't okay with that either. And especially now that we have a detective in there, questioning us, I'm under the assumption that we paid the 60 grand and we're good. And so I walked into the office. I said, hey, man, I said, I've straightened my life out. I'm not doing this. Like, Alyssa was actually pregnant with Evelyn at that point. And I said, I have a daughter on the way. It's my first child. I'm not going back to jail. I'm not living that life anymore. Like, I've got something to live for. You can have my 50%. I don't want any money. Like, you don't have to pay me out, buy me out, nothing. Just sign me off of all past, present, future debt and liabilities. That's it. No responsibility for me. You keep it all. No money for me, and I'm good. And so he was so greedy. He jumped on that. And I walked out with Ray and one other sales guy and went down the road thinking, all right, what are we going to do? How are we going to start a new company? What's going to be the name of the company? Like, all these thoughts going through my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember pass. I'm sitting there trying to think of a name, and I passed a like a heavy equipment rental place, and it was called Perimeter Heavy Equipment or something. And I was like, that's it, Perimeter Roofing. There we go. Let's just go get cards. Let's make it happen. I got the LLC set up, got everything. We went and got cards made. Had a stick figure logo, like the logo that we had back. It legit looked like a hangman stick figure. It was terrible. And had hoodies printed. So it was a little bit colder at the time. So I had hoodies made to where we could still go knock doors and do what we needed to do. The hoodies weren't even correct. The phone number was something, something, something roof, but there was like five O's in the roof. So like it wasn't even right. And so I'm like, oh my God. But I'm like, let's just run with it. Let's go. And so we're just taking all these, mishaps, and we just have to laugh at them and use them as like ways to start conversations with people and things like that. But literally the same day we walked out, I had a new company. Ray and another guy named Shannon had left with me, and we just started growing it and signed deals the first day we were gone, kept it moving. We all didn't have, you know, Ray had the same background I did. Shannon didn't have a choice but to make money. And so we had to make something happen. And we all just were grinding and hustling. I mean, we'd be out there early in the morning before it was even light out with flashlights up on a roof, like making shit happen. So
Yeah.
and they're two of the hardest working people you'll ever meet in your life. And then I ended up, after a while, Ray was still in training at that time. So after about a year, maybe two, I don't remember how long it took. But Ray was catching on, killing it. And so I said, if I really want to grow this, I can't do it all myself. Like, I need to bring other people on to where, I'd rather have a portion of something big than 100% of something super small. So,
Yep.
and even at that point, I didn't realize we were going to scale it to the level that we scaled it to. So I gave Ray basically 33% of the company. I had 34%. And then I gave another partner who was overseeing all the crews. I gave him 33%. I said, well, it's just easier for me to pay you and you bring on the crews, and we pay the crews less in labor versus paying the crews more in labor and you capping off them. So that's kind of how we started the foundation and kind of grew from there. And the we started at the end of very end December of 16, so basically beginning of 17. So first year we did 6 million. Next year we did 12 million. Third year we did 20. Then we did 25. Then we did 40. Then we did 53. And I remember the second year, third year, telling people that I was going to do. I was like, we're going to do 50 million one year, and everybody laughed at us. Like, because there was
Mm-hmm.
companies, a lot of people hated us because they had been around for 15 years or so, and they were still doing 5 million a year, and we did more than that our first year, or they were doing 10 million a year, whatever it was. And so they were obviously threatened, but I wasn't worried about them. I wasn't trying to take their business. I'm just out trying to grind for us. And but when everybody laughed at me and was like, that's impossible, I was like, okay. So we did 53 million. That's when we sold to private equity. That was in 23. And then me and Ray stayed on he stayed on a little bit longer than I did. I stayed on for right at another year. He stayed on for about another year and a half. And we took it to 300 million, and then we resigned. So we brought on other companies. We had greenfielded new locations, and then it got to the point where I was like, okay, the pay now, obviously, once private equity buys you, the salary goes down because you get a big chunk of money, but the hours weren't conducive to the. I was like, I'd rather back off, spend more time with my family. I've built this thing, and I'd rather pour time into helping other people and doing that kind of thing too. So and I miss so much of Evelyn's you know
Yeah.
gymnastics or different things like that I vowed, like, I won't miss another
Mhm.
recital, a soccer practice, I don't care what it is. Every single one of
Mm.
my kids, I'm there. No matter what. Wednesdays, as you see, like Wednesdays, I go every Wednesday and eat lunch with them, and then pick them up from school. But normally, I just check them out right after lunch, anyways. And then we'll hang out and do all sorts of go to the arcade or do whatever. And I tell people, I'm like, even my clients know, like, it doesn't. If you have $1 million opportunity for me on Wednesday, it doesn't matter. We can do it on Tuesday or Thursday, but if
Yeah.
it's Wednesday, I can make $1 million doing something else. It's fine. Like, I'm not worried about it.
Dude,
So, but my kids come first.
I love that, man. That is an amazing story. And that's what stood out to me with you. I want to dive into your family and Alyssa and the kids shortly, because I feel like that component of it is so important. Business podcasts just talk about business and they don't talk about family at all. And it's like, what the heck? Like this is why we do this stuff. But what I wanted to say was I'm very curious. What was the difference between you, Ray, and Shannon? Like, you guys obviously did something different. Like people, as you said, have been in the game for 10, 20 years. They see a young buck come in, they see that guy just like eclipse them, and they think to themselves like, what am I doing? And rather than wanting to maybe learn from you, they just either badmouth you or they have a negative attitude about your success. First of all, I absolutely tell anyone, when you see someone having success, be curious. Don't be like, oh, that person sucks, and badmouth them. Be like, what are they doing that I'm not doing, and how can I learn from them? You don't have to like someone to learn from them. But Todd, what was the difference, man? Like, you obviously have you guys had a set of skills. What do you think, if you had to sort of summarize it, was the difference between the way you guys did things, especially in that first year to get to 6 million? What was the difference between what you guys did and what the average person out there does that's just not getting the results that they want?
So I think the biggest thing was a couple things. One was work ethic. Like, me, Shannon, Ray would outwork anybody. And I mean, we were even, if we had a deal call us from Greenville, because we were doing some jobs in Greenville and stuff. I remember me and Ray getting in the truck. He'll be at my house at 4:30, be up for an appointment in Greenville by 7, do an appointment up there, be back here by 9 or 10, and then start running appointments here, and then work all day, get home, and then this point, it was when I really wasn't in the gym as much because I was so focused on business. But Ray did uh, race bikes. He was very cardiovascular, and was doing street racing at the time on not motorcycles but uh, bicycles. And so he got me into riding bikes. So we'd get home, and then me and Ray would go ride 20 miles on a bike, and I got into that with him for a cardio aspect just to do something. And we did that every day. But I think the biggest things were our work ethic. Shannon didn't have a past like me or Ray, but he was extremely OCD, and wired to the gills nonstop. And what's funny is me and his dad kind of somewhat grew up together. My dad helped raise his dad, but his grandfather and my dad were business partners. They worked together for a long time. And then me and Ray had very similar paths in the sense that we were both addicts, and he doesn't mind that I say this. He knows that I don't express it in a positive light. It's just where we came from. We were both addicts. We were both in and out of jail, prison, doing dumb shit. And I think, granted, I never want to go back to that life. I don't, res- I don't appreciate it whatsoever. But at the same time, I feel like it taught me and Ray a different mindset than it did a lot of other people that hadn't faced those challenges. Because me and Ray, being in the streets, and whether we were selling drugs or running
Hmm.
from the cops, I'm not telling anybody to do any of this, but you know,
Yeah.
we lived this getting in fights and trying to get out of trouble, and we always had to figure out loopholes. And at that point, they were
Mhm.
illegal loopholes. We're trying to figure out how to maneuver and get around. And I feel like a lot of people in business nowadays, they hit a roadblock, so to speak, in business, and they just go, "Oh, well, we can't do that." Like, and they
Yeah.
give up on the idea. We didn't ever do that. We would, no matter what the issue was, we would go, okay, well, we can't do that. How can we still get the same outcome, but get where we want to go to, but avoid that roadblock where there's got to be a loophole. There's got to be some sort of legal way to do that. How do we do that? And
Yeah.
so we would brainstorm constantly if we hit and like the analogy I always use is if I'm driving home from the gym and I hit road construction, I can't just sit there and go, well, there's construction going on, so I don't know when I'll be home and just turn the car off. No, you gotta find a detour. I still got to get to the same destination, but I got to figure out how to get there. And it's going to be a different, and it might be a shortcut. It might be more efficient for me. It might be better, in the long run. But
Yeah.
we did all those things without people teaching us how to do it, which I think is one reason why we're able to really help pour into people and coach people nowadays, because we took those 7-figure fines, the 5-figure fines multiple times, the slaps on the wrist, the audit, the OSHA violations, the this, the that, the whatever. We took those, on the chin, and then figured out, all right, how do we keep doing this, keep getting the results we want, keep growing, keep getting to that final destination that we're trying to get to, but avoid that hiccup or that legality that we were doing incorrectly before.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of thinking outside the box and figuring out how to maneuver, um, same way we had to do on the streets, that I
Mhm.
think really, really played a part into it. And then
Did you
on
ever
top of
have
that, I
uh,
think one other thing was that we didn't have any, like, we didn't have the money for. I see a lot of guys nowadays, and they're like, all right, I need SEO, and I need this marketing, I need to get a billboard, I need to get. We didn't have that. Like, I was legit going on and doing before and after. I was the first one in the roofing game to start posting on Facebook. I'm like, I don't know how to market. I don't know anything about market, but I know on Facebook, there's a lot of people on there. And I
yeah.
don't know how the whole algorithm works yet. I don't know how all this works yet, but I know if I post it, a lot of people can see it. So I just
And
started posting.
you just said something about before and afters too, and it made me think. I would assume you took that mentality from the fitness space of before and after
Yeah.
transformations, and then you apply what works over to this new industry where they're not doing any of that. Is that
And
kind
I
of
did the same.
what you did?
I did the same thing. So other people would start doing before and afters. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, all right, well, I got to do something else to stand apart. So then I would do testimonials. I'd grab my phone and, hey, we just finished up with Fraser Bailey's roof. And, Fraser, how is the process working? I'd do a quick little 5-minute testimonial. And then it's raw, unedited. Man, it was super easy. Like, I didn't even know I had damage. Todd knocked on my door, told me the hardest part was going to be picking out the shingle color. And that was legit the hardest part. Like, so it's raw, it's unedited, especially if you have like a little old lady sitting there with somebody like us that's big and tattooed. Like, you got this
Yeah.
little old lady telling a story. Like, it builds more value and trust. Um, I was creating memes. I was going on like meme generators and figuring out how to create memes, like from movies, and doing funny type memes. The drones came out. I started doing drone videos. Like, every time somebody would
Yeah.
start copying us, and I remember Ray used to get so mad. He'd be like, "These they're copying us," and I'm like, "Bro, if they're copying us, they're behind us. Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. That means they want to be. So I'll just figure out something else to put us ahead." And me and Ray really took like Facebook, and a lot of people still don't believe in it. And I'm like, man, I would say out of that last year, that 300 million, I would say 100 million of that came from Facebook, and another 100 million came from real estate agents. And I'm like,
Yeah.
connections and
Yeah.
Facebook. Everybody, when a commercial comes on, they get bored at work, they pick up Facebook.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you get a lot of clients from Facebook too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. That's the thing, man, is like social media is so powerful. And when you're a walking, and I talk often about being a walking billboard and just in documenting and sharing your life. And one thing that I think stands out about you, so for any of you that listen, that go and follow Todd, you'll see this where he shares his life. He has his Wednesday excursion with his kids, and that's something he documents often. And so you don't just see a bunch of work related stuff. You see bits of him training for his fighting. You see bits of him the way he's training with his weights. You see bits of the way he's coaching people. So he's documenting and sharing like all the different pillars that make him who he is. And that's what I do too. And I really feel like that is such a important part of the puzzle because, people obviously want to know that you're good at what you do, but they also want to see that you have all these other areas of your life figured out. Because like that's why I think you're such an effective business mentor and why I come to you because I think to myself, there's so many business mentors out there. And I talk about this often on my show where they might be very, very successful, but they're super fat and out of shape and inflamed, and their kids probably barely even know who they are. They're not role models for
Yeah.
their kids at all. And I think to myself, so give me get this straight. If I copy and follow you, I'll get a good business result. Will I end up looking like you too? Will I end up having relationships
Sure.
with my family like you? And so you embody like what it looks like to achieve the multiple things. I wanted to say, man, with your family, what if you sort of had to tell us your story with Alyssa, how important do you feel it is to have a partner that sort of trusts you or supports you or pushes you or challenges you? Because obviously, she didn't just meet you when you were already making a ton of money. It was early in the beginning. And obviously, there was some spark there. Has she been a source of motivation for you, like to figure things out? And especially when your kids were born, like walk us through some of the family stuff. So like when you first met her, like how did you navigate business and then growing a family, and like how important was it to have her in your corner supporting you and stuff?
Um, Immensely. First of all, when I first met her, it was for her it was love at first sight. Obviously, I'm just kidding. I had to work my ass off to try to get her. I give her a hard time too because she first of all when she walked into the gym, she knew the girl. She was coming home from college. She played softball in college, and so she played in Maine, and so she was back home now and needed a job for the summer and was going to work the front desk. I wasn't aware of this. I didn't know who she was. The GM of the location that I was at had already interviewed her, had already hired her. She was a friend of the girl that was currently working the front desk. And so here she comes walking in, and I'm at the front desk. And so I greet her just like I would anybody else. And I remember she was like, I'm about to work here. And I was like, okay, like cool. Like threw me off, threw me for a loop. And so the GM comes out, introduces me to her, shows her around, gets her set up and everything. And um, I was at that location more than most just because it was closer to my house and I could do everything that I needed to do being the VP from there. And I'll never forget and I still give her shit about this, but after we had known each other for a while, we still hadn't gone on a date yet. We still hadn't done even talked about going on a date. Maybe we had flirted a little bit. I don't know. But the GM comes out and asks me a question and then asks for my approval in order to do something. And at this point, she didn't know who I was. She thought I might just work front desk there or whatever. And so I remember she looked at me and she was like, "So you're like the big boss?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so I give her shit about that still. I said you only dated me because I was the big boss. And so but no, we started dating and then I was still in the gym industry. But then when I took that leap of faith Um, she left the gym industry and she found a we had started talking about we ended up starting getting pretty serious. She left the gym as well and was working for a company that provided benefits
Hmm.
for us and things of that nature. And but it was an office job. She couldn't stand it. She made like $400 a week, and we're renting the first house that we got together was a looked like a nice older established neighborhood, little uh like split level houses type deal, but it ended up
Hmm.
being like the hood, and we didn't know. Our house got shot up. We got
Wow.
hit in a drive by. We had a bunch of bullets go through our house one night. All sorts of crazy stuff. But
Mm.
we're in a rough area. She's making $400 a week. We're trying to figure out what bills to pay and what not to pay, because at this time now I've started the company and I'm not really making any money, no money really, because I'm investing it all back into the company that I started. I've got to make sure that rent's paid. I've got to make sure that
Mhm.
all my guys are paid, the crews are paid, materials are paid, all this kind of stuff. And take care of the team first. And she held it down and worked every day while I was trying to, figure this shit out. And
Yeah.
finally, I don't know how long it was, maybe a year later, where I was making more than enough to cover our bills, and
Hmm.
also knew, like, I had enough belief in myself and had figured it out to the point where I knew, hey, I'm taking this to another level. Like,
Yeah.
you can quit your job and you never have to work again. Like, I'll pay for
That's a
insurance, I'll
great
pay for
feeling.
this, I'll pay for that. And I told her that, and she quit, and you know, stayed at home, focused on. We ended up having Evelyn, which we had. That was
Mhm.
a process in itself. We had to do IVF,
Yeah.
for all of our kids, and so that was all the process too. But she ended up staying at home, taking care of the house, taking care of the kids,
Hmm.
and paying the bills, doing everything that is not my
Yeah.
forte, is not my strong point, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today without
Yeah.
her,
One
100%.
thing,
And
one thing that I love about you and your family dynamic is that a big part of your driver and your motivation, and you've talked about this a few times, is you didn't just make a bunch of money and just kind of do your stuff. Like you said, you were able to retire her so she can be just pour into like motherhood and just like have her life to live, but also the way that you've helped your parents and you built them a house, I believe, on your property too. And so like, what is it like? What does it feel like, man, to sort of go from not really knowing like if you could do this to like being having all this potential debt looming over your head when you had to pull the plug on this initial roofing business? Did you always feel like, was there a certain point where you were like, this is actually happening, I can do this? Did you feel that from the beginning? Or was it like, did you have to kind of like accumulate proof? When you first started, were you just like, man, I just like hope that this works out, but I have no idea? Or were you like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna make this work. Like, where do you even remember where you were at mentally to go from there to literally like being able to like build your parents a house, retire them, retire Alyssa? I mean, just like what most men, I think, would aspire to want to achieve.
I don't think I don't think I even thought about, is this possible or will I make it work? Like, I kind of was under the impression and told me, like, I have to make this work. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a
Yeah.
choice.
Yep.
Like, especially leaving the gym industry, which was my forte, which was, I had done bodybuilding forever. I just retired from bodybuilding 2 years ago.
Yep.
And then was crazy enough to start fighting professionally. So that's just because we can't sit still and we're fucking crazy. But
Yeah.
the I don't think it was. I don't think I really had a choice but to make it happen and to know that, like, no matter what, I've got to figure it out. I knew from a sales standpoint and I knew I could outsell anybody. Like I never had
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
gym industry, I knew I could outsell anybody. So, and you know what's so funny, and I tell a lot of people this: a lot of people that come from the gym industry are phenomenal at any other kind of sales because
Mhm.
it's so different, and people are like, "Why? It's gym," and I'm like, "Okay." But I have to sit across from you for 30 minutes to an hour, take you through a little
Mhm.
5 minute workout to kind of diagnose some of the issues that you may have, see where your starting point is, um, and then build enough value in your mind that, which
Yeah.
is what most people have an issue with in sales, is building value and going over your wants, not what I want for you. Yeah, Fraser, I want you to
Mhm.
be bigger. I want you to be leaner. I want you to be that. No, what do you want? I have to take what you want,
Yeah.
build enough value in that, and have you, picture that in your mind that you're going to be on the cover of Muscle and Fitness magazine, or you're going to be in a bikini looking like that, whatever it may be, in that 30 minutes to an hour, and then you pay me thousands of dollars and you walk out the door with nothing tangible but hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
versus any other sales, car, roof, whatever, especially in the roofing game, because it's like insurance is paying
You have a
for it.
physical
Now there's the
product. Yeah.
retail side thing, and you're getting a physical product on the most valuable thing that you own. And if your home's not the most valuable, there's probably something in your home that's the most valuable, and it's the first layer of protection on that. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm like, this is gonna be easy.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
majority of the people that I hired from the get-go were from the gym industry and
Yeah.
absolutely killed it. And
Good.
some
Yeah.
of them ended up, before I really figured out business and learned retention and how to incentivize people to stay and things of that nature. Some of them went on to open their own companies as well, and they're
Yeah.
successful, and I still talk to them, they're still doing good. But I think I think that is what really helped
Mhm.
me a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I didn't. When I started, it was strictly a, all right, this is what I'm making in the gym. I was making 72K a year. I was making
Mhm.
6 grand a month, and which was good money. And
Mhm.
but I'm like, I want better for my family. I want more for, especially for the hours that you got to work too. Um,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be able to give Alyssa and then my future kids whatever they wanted. So literally my play going into this was thinking about the checks that Chad had sent me and thinking
Yeah.
about the money ask. It was just a money play, was really all it
Mhm.
was. It
Yeah.
wasn't, I thought that I would be doing this long term, that I'm gonna start a business and it's gonna be another job. Like it was just, I didn't even think about ever selling a company.
Yeah.
And since then I've sold 4 companies. I've got another one
Mhm.
under LOI and others that I'm building, right now too. Like, um, so I never I never imagined it, I never planned it, but I think the
Yeah.
small wins along the way are
Yep.
what really helped me grow in different areas and realize, like, dude, I can do whatever I want. Like I can
Yeah.
go open up, and plus with the reputation, and that's I made a post about it the other day. Like my name is far more, my name, my
Mhm.
reputation,
Yep.
all that is far more important than any amount of money, because I can make more money. Like it doesn't, I can make, I can't, I've been sober 15 going on 16 years now. Like, and it's taken me a long time to build this reputation, the name that I have, the brand, the personal brand that I have, all this
Mhm.
kind of stuff, to where people know, all right, he ran this company like this, he ran this company like this, they did things with
Yeah.
integrity, he backs his work. So if he opens up whatever, I'm looking at a vacuum in the corner, if I open up a cleaning company, if I open up a
Mhm.
personal training company, if I open up whatever it may be, he's going to treat his clients the same way. It's going to be their same, ran the same way, the same integrity, the same professionalism. And that is far more valuable. And I feel like a lot of people miss that. They focus, and I feel like I was lucky enough to start focusing on the process versus just the money. And
Yep.
I try to tell all my clients, like, hey, the money is great, and that's the end goal, and
Mhm.
you need it to be able to provide for your family and your children and your wife, your parents, whatever. You need it, But if you're focused on the money, you're going to forget key principles that are really going to get you to the money. Like if you focus
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
key principles and who you become along the way in that entire process, the money's going to come. But if you
Yeah.
focus on the integrity, always doing the right thing, making sure that your people succeed, pour into your people, not just treat them as a number, pour into your customers, help them out, develop real relationships with your customer. I have customers still to this day from 5, 10 years ago that will comment on pictures of Evelyn or picture. Oh my God, she's gotten so big. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did your roof one time,
Yeah.
and you're still commenting on my. That's the kind of relationships that we would
Hmm.
build with people. And
Man.
I think that process is far more important because also what a lot of people don't realize, and I've been blessed enough to realize this, but and I actually heard Andrew Tate talking about this as well one time, but
Hmm.
he talks about where if you're chasing your dreams and you have goals that enjoy that. Like, don't look at other people that have everything and say, "Man, I wish I had that." Enjoy that process and enjoy that chase because
Yeah.
the I remember when we sold the roofing company and I had, I was already making, well into the seven figures a year. I was doing
Mhm.
great, but when I we sold the company, I remember the night before thinking like I'm about to have 8 figures deposited into my account tomorrow,
Yeah.
and like it was almost hard to sleep. Like you just couldn't imagine it. And then we did the call, and I literally watched like I had my app open, and I remember watching the wire go through into my account, and it was exciting for 30 seconds, and then it was like,
Yeah.
all
Done.
right, what's next? You know what I mean? And it's the same
Yeah.
thing like
Yeah.
with people. Like I tell people, and don't get me wrong, I love vehicles, so that's my
Yeah.
kind of my downfall. But other than that, like I tell people, they chase all the shiny watches, the shiny car. Every single vehicle, as much as I love them, still after a couple months, it's like you get bored with it. You
Yeah.
get bored with
Yeah.
the watches, you get bored with the houses, you get bored. But like your family, your who you become
Hmm.
in the process, the things that you do for people, how you build people and watch them turn into million. Like I've got 4 clients right now under LOI, and that
Wow.
is awesome to see.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
knowing that their lives are about to change. Like I love that.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
Um,
I think that, one of the things you touched on, I think is so important to know is that you hit these goals and then that euphoria stays for just a flicker of time. And I even tell people, even in health and fitness, it's like that with your physique. Like you get like
correct.
on stage and you win that trophy or you get that certain body fat percentage, and like a day later, you're like, it's done. And if you don't have these like deeper drivers and you don't really have that sort of deeper why. I mean, you even talked about it one time where you were saying the difference between, I forget exactly what it was, but it was about, the people that get through the Navy SEAL Hell Week training versus your average person is that identity, that character. They don't just hang their hat on the result, on the 8 figures in the account or the body fat percentage. They almost value the like day-to-day grind
Win.
that they've created to like even have that existence. Like I genuinely enjoy a lot of the day-to-day habits that I have that have kind of created the result that I have so far, and I know that you're the same. And dude, I was going to say, in terms of like becoming a father, you mentioned, like you said, I didn't have a choice. When you were transitioning away from the gym stuff, you're starting this roofing thing, you didn't know anything about the industry, you eclipse a bunch of people, you end up 9-figure exit. Did you like what role did your kids have in your ability to like drive and grind and push through that? Like, did you always want to have time with them from the beginning, like to connect with them? Or did you sort of like have to kind of thrust yourself in the deep end of business to realize, hey, like I'm not spending enough time with the kids. I want to spend more time with them? Or were you always kind of conscious of that stuff?
Um, I was always conscious of it, but I knew starting out I really had to be in the trenches to make stuff happen, to
Yeah.
teach people the sales process, to teach people the we're gonna go in the pool in just a little bit. So
There you
I
go,
had to
man.
be
There you go.
yeah, I had to I knew that like if I want, like I tell people a lot. It's like playing telephone when you were in elementary school or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you have a saying and it goes around the class and then it comes back and is it the same saying now or is it something completely different?
Yeah.
So I feel like that happens with sales and with processes and with systems that you implement in your business. So one, that's why they all have to be in black and white and on paper and everybody sign off on it, et cetera. But two, I think that's why it's so important that everybody has to learn it the exact same way. So I wanted to make sure that I instilled it in the people that were going to be passing it down the way
Hmm.
it needed to be, to where
Yeah.
then they could pass it down and let them know, like, hey, there's no steps that need to be skipped. There is no like,
Yep.
um, uh, Todd wants us to do this, but this really isn't that important. Like, no, it is important. There's a reason I want you to do it. And
Yeah.
you might not know the reason, but there is a reason I want you to do it. And if you have a question about it, I'll tell you what the reason is. But
Yeah.
like it might be to cover your ass. It might be a liability thing. It might be
Hmm.
to help you close the deal in the future. It might be, whatever. Um, Tell everyone to get some scissors, bud. Got me trying to open up some little mini muffins. Um, but the I hated missing the stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I knew I had to do it for the benefit of the future. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
like my main goal was, I knew I didn't want to work in the business. I wanted to work on the business,
Yeah.
and that was the only way we could really be successful in the future. And so I knew that I had to train as many people that could
Mm.
have my same mindset and take my spot as possible. And
Yeah.
I didn't even realize the fact, like, now further down the road and having talked to multiple private equity companies and all this kind of stuff, I see like that makes you more valuable as a company too, because,
Yeah.
you know, private equity looks at it as, okay, well, if we pay you this money, Todd, and you leave tomorrow, who can take your spot? And like,
Yeah. Yep.
I made sure that, I didn't look at it as a risk factor like they did. I looked
Hmm.
at it as this is a way I want my company ran. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
no matter how many locations we have, if I go into whatever, a Starbucks, a Chick-fil-A, whatever, it's the same menu, it's the same outfits at Chick-fil-A, it's the same my pleasure. They all have their own, they all do it, they have the same way, the same system, same processes. There's
Hmm.
no different pricing at each one, there's no different menu at each one. It's the
Yeah.
same standard. And that's something that I wanted to implement from the get-go. So as we grew,
Yeah.
if I moved somebody from here to Nashville and they ran our Nashville office like Andrew Barron does, that he did things exactly the way we did it, and he would be
Yeah.
here
Yep.
for a while, and he started off in sales, and then he grew to where I knew he wanted to be a team leader, and so I said, all right, well, let's put some people under you.
Hmm.
You recruit some people, I'll recruit some people. You got to train them. You got to keep your numbers up too, but then I want to see their numbers grow. I want to see they're doing the right things. I want to see that
Yeah.
you can praise people, reprimand people, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
did that still under our watch. And finally, after maybe 6 months to a year of doing that, and I saw he was killing it. His guys were killing it. He really cared about his guys. If one of them got a new truck, he was the first one to show like
Hmm.
congratulations to Fraser. I just bought a new truck, absolutely killing it. Or if somebody had a big week, he'd post super proud of this guy. Like he followed the same work ethic, same pattern, same integrity, same everything that we did. And so then
Yeah.
I was like, hey, we want to open up another location. These are some of the areas that we're looking at. Would any of these interest you in moving to? I know you want to move up in the
Yeah.
company. Would you be interested? And he was like, man, I'd go to Nashville in a heartbeat. And so we
Hmm.
moved him to Nashville and
Yeah.
started a team up there. And he's been there for years
Nice.
now and absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
man.
think
It's
that's the biggest thing.
yeah, and sort of to segue in because I want to. sort of summarize things and get your perspective on, what people should be focusing on in the rest of 2026 and sort of, how they should be operating. But before we do that, I just wanted to ask you, you obviously are very busy, you're juggling a lot of stuff, but I see you, training your MMA stuff, you're working out, like you dedicate a lot of time to like your physical body and performance. You're not just this guy that's like making deals and, sort of building businesses, but you're sitting behind a desk all day. Like you're carving out time to not only have time with your kids, like you're about to go play in the pool, for example. But how much or how important, especially as a like an addict, how important has it been to have like your health and your physical body and your training as like part of your process along this journey? Because we've known each other for a few years, man. And when you were in the height of sort of building your thing, you were still like training a lot. And I feel like a lot of guys, they push that to the back. They're like, I don't have time for this right now. I'll do this when like I'm through this busy season of my life. You operate differently. So like how important has it been for you to like have a physical goal, train consistently, like as a literally as a business athlete?
Um, I think I think for me, one, it's part. I mean, it's part of my identity. Like
Yeah.
I've done it for so long. Like, and then two, I feel like it makes everything easy. Like I watch a lot of David Goggins. I love David Goggins. I don't watch him for the motivation like a lot of people do. I watch him for like his mindset because I love his mindset and I feel like it's the same. Like I saw a clip yesterday and it was like, "What are you training for?" He's like, "Nothing, but if something comes on, I'll be ready." You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah. Yep.
that's the thing. And so for me, it's just part of who I am. It makes me feel better. It makes me, obviously more confident. I think it would make anybody more confident. Not that I
Yep.
have any lack of confidence if you follow me on Facebook.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing too is it helps with my stress levels. It helps with my mental
Hmm.
clarity. It also, I think, the biggest thing, not only from a real life perspective, but also from the outside looking in at anybody else, is it it demands respect. When you see me walk into a
Yep.
room, when you
Yep.
see you walk into a room, when you see
Hmm.
Steve Kuklo walk into a room, like I know he does a lot of speaking. Me and him are friends. Like you see people like that walk
Yeah.
into a room, they grab your and you know that person is dedicated. Like that person puts in work because
Yeah.
anybody like you can see a kid or an old man pull up in a Ferrari, have a whatever watch on that's a couple $100,000, have a multi-million-dollar house. You can see all this kind of stuff. You don't know how they
Hmm.
got it. You don't know if it's daddy's money. You don't know if they earned it. You don't know what. But when they step out of that Ferrari, they're just whoever, John. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
And somebody could have helped them get that. No one helped
Hmm.
me get this. No one helped you get that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you earned that on your own. And that's the only thing in life that you can 100%, even, even if we say that we're self-made in business, well, we
Hmm.
still had to have all our employees. We still had to have our office, staff. We still had to have like our digital creator. We still had to have all these people that did it for us. Like we aren't 100% self-made.
Yeah.
So, but when it comes to fitness, you are 100.
Mm.
Your physique is 100% on you because
Yeah, man.
you're controlling not only what you do in the gym, but also behind the scenes. It's a 24/7,
Hmm.
thing. Like I'm still super lean. I'm not nearly as big as I used to be, obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel great. I have, tons of cardio, which is great. I can keep up with the kids and I'm, focused on
Yeah.
longevity at this point.
Yep.
But I think the other thing for me is, when it comes to anything is, and this is kind of a downfall and a blessing, I guess, in disguise is, I was an addict for years and years. And
Yeah.
that addictive personality, I think, is what makes me the way I am in anything that I do. To
Yep.
where if I'm in, like, I
Agreed.
remember when I put my mind to the roofing, and I said, all right, well, we're going to do over 50 million. Like these guys are laughing at us, so now I've got to show it. Like, and
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why sometimes, even for an accountability standpoint, I'll kind of, if you want to call it like Babe Ruth, call my shot on Facebook,
Hmm.
because it's not to be cocky or arrogant. It's that I'm holding myself accountable, because now
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
told the world that I'm going to do this, and I
Hmm.
have to make it happen. Like there's no
Yeah.
backing out. That's on the internet forever. Like people can see it, people can screenshot, whatever. I have to go make this happen, and I'll never forget. Um, what got me into the I've been training MMA for uh since I was probably 20 years old. I've been running I ran Knuckle Up was one of the gyms that I ran, which was a chain of gyms here in Georgia, and then a lot of them switched over to American Top Team, which is a big name. And but when I retired from bodybuilding and I went back into the MMA world, I did it just for the cardio aspect of it, because
Yeah.
I didn't want to go run. I didn't want to go ride bike. I didn't want to do any of that. I was like, well, let me go do this. This will be fun, but it'll also be cardiovascular for me too. Keep me lean, keep me in shape, good workout. And so I did it. And I remember one day I would hit pads with Nathan Rivera, because I was sponsored him. He's bare knuckle fighter, number two
Hmm.
in the world, and like a little brother to me, super good dude. And between hitting pads one day, he's like, Todd, have you ever, like, how old are you? And I was like, 39. And he was like, when do you turn 40? And I was like, in June. And he was like, so you're like 39 and a half. And I was like, yeah, Nate,
Yeah.
what are you getting at here, bro? And he
Yeah.
said, dude, you should do one bare knuckle fight before you turn 40. And I was
Yeah.
immediately like, no. I said, no, no. I said, I have nothing to prove. I'm not like, it doesn't matter. I'm just doing this for cardio, for fun. And he was like, bro, you hit so hard and your cardio is good. Like, we could sharpen some things up. And I said, yeah, that's great. I said, but he's like, just one. And I said, no, no, you don't understand. I'm an addict. If I do it, I'm going for the belt. Like I'm all in 100%. There's no turning back, and I'm going to go until I get the belt. And then when I get the belt, I might keep going and do more,
Yeah.
or I might say, all right, checked that off the list. Now what's next? So,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
but I said no. A couple weeks went by, and then it just weighed on me. And then finally, I was like, I gotta, I gotta figure this out. Like, I gotta see what's like. I gotta try it. I just gotta do
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
so went to Mississippi, got my pro card, and then came back here and started doing bare knuckle, and just been going hard ever since.
Man, I feel I absolutely relate. You talk about the addict stuff, and I feel like I'm the same. And I notice that trend with a lot of people that are successful is that if you are just trying to like remove something from your life that's negative, if you don't fill it with something positive, you'll just keep relapsing. So it's like you gotta pour it into like your work and like your family and like bare knuckle boxing and MMA and like weightlifting and like all these things that are positive. I see Ray does a lot of cycling, like you mentioned. And so, brother, look, I think like I want you to just map out, in 2026, where the economy is at, where people are at, where men are at in general, your general observations of like the world. What would you say are the most important things people need to think about and focus on over the next year as they move forward when it relates to like business, when it relates to like their health, when it relates to their family? Just drop any wisdom, share any bits of knowledge that you want as like a summary, because then I want to basically just quickly touch on your business mastermind group, because I want almost think of this like a chance for people to kind of like wrap their head around like what you do now, because I want people to get access to you. We live in this day and age now, guys, where social media has given us the ability to like get in the rooms with nine-figure CEOs. When me and Todd were younger, unless you physically knew someone at your gym or like up the street from you, you would never be able to just like talk to a nine-figure CEO. It wasn't even a thing. So we live in a day and age now where like it's almost like if someone doesn't want to achieve the big dream, it's almost like it's a choice at that point. So what would you
Mhm.
say, man, in terms of direction, like any bits of just nuggets of wisdom you just want to leave for people to just really like chew on?
I think um, health and fitness is one of the biggest things. I think
Hmm.
that's key for whether you own a business or whether you don't own a business. I think it's key for it makes you more mentally sound. It makes you more
Yep.
sharp. It makes you sharper. It makes you more confident. Whether, like I said, you own a business, you work for somebody, doesn't matter. You're going to have more confidence, and it might lead you into to opening a business or pushing you to where you have enough confidence to say, you know what, screw it. I've always wanted to try this. I'm going to go try it.
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
think that's key. I think another thing is so many people look for um, like these huge wins,
Mm.
and you know the biggest thing is, well, two things. One, when you're busy like we are, you have to everybody's like, well, how do you do this, and then how do you do that, and then how do you have time for all this? And it's like, well, I make the time. Like, I don't
Hmm.
have the time, I make the time, and I literally live and breathe off my calendar. Like, my calendar
Yeah.
is like date nights are on my, like, not even just appointments or Zoom calls or like coaching calls or things of that nature, but like
Hmm.
date nights are on my calendar.
Yep.
You know, stuff for my kids, soccer games or Evelyn's recitals or cheerleading, whatever. It's on my calendar. Like, and when something's on my calendar, it doesn't move. If I have a coaching call with somebody, it doesn't move unless that person needs to cancel or
Yeah.
something happens.
Hmm.
It's on my, and I can't double book it. That's just the way I am. And so
Yeah.
that way it makes me more organized to where I know, like I said earlier, no, Wednesdays are blocked off. That
Hmm.
whole day
Yep.
is blocked off for my kids, like, period.
Yep.
So I think that's super important to help people be more organized and direct with where their time is spent. Because if
Yeah.
not, like you said, you get caught up in work and it's just constantly over, and you hear
Yep.
all these, like people missing out on their kids and things. And I don't want to miss
Mm.
out on that stuff, man. And it's
Yeah.
not just that I don't want to miss out on it. I remember my parents being at every game I ever had and how much that meant to me. So I know it means the world to them, because even when we go out here to the pool in a second,
Yeah.
I have to watch everything that they do. Every
Hmm.
jump in the pool, everything that they do, they're going to go, Daddy,
Yeah.
watch this. You watch this one.
Yeah.
Like, they want you to see. So it's the same thing at
Yeah.
their soccer games and everything. They want you to be there and be present and paying attention and not on your phone
Hmm.
and not working. So like and that took me a while too to put my phone down, because, like, I'll be honest with you, Alyssa gave me a hard time back in the day because I would be on my phone a lot, and
Yeah.
he thought I was scrolling on Facebook or doing what, and I'm like, no, I'm working. Like, and if I am on
Yeah.
Facebook, I'm handling a
Working.
lead, or I'm,
Yeah.
putting out a marketing post or something. But
Hmm.
like, I do more work from my phone than I do from my computer.
I'm
And
the same.
but it
Yeah.
got to the point where, yeah, and it got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm home now. Phone's down. Like, I don't even know. Like, I'll
Hmm.
put my phone down. I'm like, I don't even know where it's at.
Yeah.
So I think that organizational standpoint, as like, whatever, as maybe OCD as it sounds,
Hmm.
that's really the only way you can make sure that nothing comes up on date night. Like, oh shit,
Yeah.
babe, I
Yep.
got to work late tonight. Like, no,
Mm.
like, I will tell somebody, no, tonight it's date night.
Yep.
Like, 7 p.m. date on a Friday night. It's date night. Like, sorry. Like,
Yeah.
well, it's a big
Dude,
offer. Okay, tell them
I even
Saturday's
I
good.
even I even have that like at nighttime, man. I shut down at dinner time and I had this mastermind call. This guy wanted me to like do these calls at like 8 o'clock at night. And I said, look, man, I'm putting my children to bed at 8 o'clock at night. It's
Yeah.
not gonna happen. So to have those like hard boundaries, like you said, I feel like that is what like keeps your cup full. Like if you just deplete yourself and you're constantly like pushing off your kids and pushing off your spouse to like do just the business, you burn out so hard. And so like
Well,
I
then
find that
plus
like
you're working on other people's schedule then. Like,
Yeah.
you don't
Yep.
even have your own schedule. You're working on other people's schedule. And I understand, like, it's
Yeah.
like us creating the when works for you, Fraser. Let me see. Okay, well, this works for me. Blah, blah, and we come to an agreement on a time. But
Yeah.
like, if it's strictly you tell me this time of day, and the next appointment tells me this time of day, and the next one, I'm just living off of everybody else's schedule, and I'm not
Yeah.
creating my own life. You know what I mean? And you can't
Yep.
do that.
100%.
And so I think
Man,
that's super important.
that's
I
huge.
think the other thing is knowing that you can always make more money, you can't make more memories. Like, I used to be
Mm,
very big
good.
on,
Yeah.
um, uh, you know, buying buying things because I thought, like, well, I wanted to be able to have tangible like, if I spend something, I want to be able to have it. Like,
Yeah.
but now I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. I'll drop like 30
Yeah.
grand to go for a week somewhere and have a
Yep.
huge beach house or have this or whatever. Like, but I
Yep.
get to have the whole family together. I get to see my kids super happy and in the pool or in the beach, or
Mm. Man.
we go to Opryland Hotel in Nashville every year at Christmas time, like whatever it may be. Like, I do that kind of stuff. I built a whole arcade upstairs, the entire
Yeah.
upstairs of my house, arcade,
Yeah.
like, so that to me is more important than business. Like,
Yeah.
business is great, you have to have it, but if you don't have that balance, you're going to lean way too far
Mhm.
one side or the other, and you're going to drop the ball on business, or you're going to drop the ball on family, or you're going to drop the ball on
Yeah.
fitness, and it's hard. And I
Yep.
think the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is, and this is a big thing, and I say this probably in every public speaking event that I ever do, is
Mhm.
your wins don't have to be huge. Like,
Yeah.
stacking small wins is the best way to create momentum, to get your life
Mhm.
on track, because not everybody is going to, like, I know a lot of people look at you and go, I
Mm.
want to be like that. Like, well, okay, you're 300 pounds, you eat McDonald's every day, you sleep till
Yeah.
noon.
Yeah.
You're not going to get
Yeah.
up at 2:30 and start doing, burpees or push-ups and doing cardio every morning. And you're not going to do that and look like Fred. It's not going to happen. Like, so you got to have small wins.
Yeah.
And I think too many people get demotivated too fast, and those small wins help with that motivation. One of the biggest things that I tell people is, like,
Mm.
to start off your day, when you set your alarm every morning, whatever time you set it for, and you're probably
Mhm.
like me, where you don't even have to set an alarm now, you just get
Yeah.
up at
Yeah.
the time. But I don't care if you set your alarm for 4 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever it is, don't hit snooze. Like, if
Yeah.
you hit
Yeah.
snooze, you literally failed the first task of your day. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
that's the first task that you set up for yourself for that day, and you failed it. And it
Yeah.
can trickle effect and snowball into everything else, to where, well, shit, now I'm running late for work, so I don't have time to get my meals together. So I'll
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
I'll just grab some food. And then you're in a hurry at work, and then it's, oh, well, I'll just grab Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
then, oh, well, I'll just make today a cheat day and I'll skip the gym. And so, like, it's a trickle effect to everything that you do,
Mhm.
versus, oh, I woke up on time, I got my meals prepared, I took a shower, I got ready, I was at work on time. Now, when lunch comes, I'm eating healthy, I'm on
Yeah.
time for the gym, I'm motivated and thinking correctly to go. Because so many people also don't realize, even speaking on that, and going back to the fitness aspect of things, people don't realize that what you put in your body and what you eat, it's not just how you look. Like, that's how your
Yeah.
cognitive function and your mental clarity and how you think too.
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
and so it's the same
100%.
thing as drinking alcohol, so it's
Yeah.
a direct correlation. If I eat like shit, I'm going to feel like shit. I'm going to think negatively. I'm going to have, I might not think as clearly, whatever it may be. But, like, you have to stack up those wins, but they don't have to be huge.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Dude.
jump the biggest hurdle in the fucking world to start
Yeah.
off with. Everybody starts with a smaller hurdle, and you just work your way
Mhm.
up. And that's
Ah,
how you
brother, I love
become
that,
more and
man.
more successful.
No, I love that,
So
man.
I think it's
That
also
compound effect, man. That compound effect, man, is like we see that everywhere in life, right? It's just, I mean, that's guys, that compound effect he's talking about. I talk about just like stacking small wins early in the day to get that mental momentum all the time. So, brother, I appreciate that a ton. How can so what are you doing? What are you doing now, and how can people find you? Like, where would you tell them to go to connect with you? I will vouch for Todd. I've seen the work he does. Obviously, in the world of entrepreneurs and gurus, people like coaches who sell coaching, that's the main thing. This guy's actually built stuff. And now he's teaching people to do the same. So where would you tell people to go to reach out to you and connect with you and stuff like that?
They can go to my Facebook page, Todd Price, or they can go to my Instagram page, official Todd Price.
Hmm.
Um, or they can also go to my website, officialtoddprice.com. That has all the links to all my social media on there, but it's also got a sign up page for my group coaching if they're interested in one on one,
Hmm.
which is where like the top players really take
Yeah.
it to another level. That reach out to me directly and we'll work on the schedule and we'll figure it out and get them going from there.
Perfect. Well, brother, I want to say thank you, man. Guys, I cannot tell you enough. Follow this man. He lives what he preaches. And I talk so much about with business athletes about how, yeah, it's good to work on the business stuff, but you want to lock in your health, you want to have family time. He lives and models that. And I've seen that. And that's why he and I get along so well. So Todd, brother, I just wanted to say thank you, man, for your time. It's very much appreciated. I know how busy you are. And obviously, right now you're about to go and connect with your kids in the pool. And I mean, I think that's many people's dream is to have that. And so, brother, I just want to say again, thank you for your knowledge. And I really do appreciate you.
Love it, brother. I appreciate you having me. And anytime you want to do another one, I'm down.
Thank you, man.